A huge example, in fact. When you ask our brothers, name the 6 Sahih books, which ones do they normally name? They name Bukhari, Muslim. They'll name, for example, Tirmidhi. They'll mention, for example, Abu Dawood. They'll mention Ibn Majah. What's the last one that they'll mention? Nasa'i. Nasa'i. Nasa'i is a huge scholar. And in some pieces of literature, Nasa'i would be more stringent on hadith criteria than Bukhari and Muslim. But why is his book not as famous as Bukhari and Muslim? Why is it in the world today you always hear Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim? Normally we hear the 6 Sahih. But you only hear Bukhari and Muslim as the main ones. Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i in his knowledge of the world of hadith is as high as Bukhari and Muslim. But why his book, Sunan al-Nasa'i, doesn't get the same accolades as Bukhari and Muslim? Because fihi a little of the tashayyu'. There's a little of tashayyu' in him. You think he had some tashayyu'? It's not tashayyu'. It's he loved Amir al-Mu'mineen. He loved Imam Ali alayhi salam. He loved Imam Ali. He was in Egypt. He left Egypt, came to Syria. Came to Syria, everyone's like, oh, the famous muhaddith has come. And Nasa'i, everyone's welcoming him. When everybody came and they asked him that you are the one who knows the hadiths of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, narrate to us the merits of Muawiyah, Ahl al-Sham, they want Muawiyah. I don't have nothing to narrate about him. Sorry? So Baba, you've got a book, Khasa'is Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's got a book all on the merits of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And you know, Ali ibn Abi Talib, if you read some works of non-Shia, I know what they say, no man has as many merits in hadith as Ali ibn Abi Talib. It's phenomenal. I don't know, only Allah's light cannot be extinguished. How much they try to delete these merits, you'll find some scholars like Ibn Hajar al-Haythami saying, no one has as many merits as Ali. They said, Nasa'i, Baba, give us something on Muawiyah. He said, there's nothing. There's nothing. What did I say a couple days ago? I said Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani in Fath al-Bari says, Abdullah, son of Ahmad bin Hanbal, asked his dad about Muawiyah's hadiths. He said, Baba, none of them, there's nothing, no praise of him. Because they hated Ali, they made merits for him. He said to him, there's nothing. He said, nothing? He said, maybe if there's one, maybe Allahumma la tushbi' batnahu, for example. It's a sick line. That's a sick line, that one, I must admit. Yeah, that's a sick line. That stomach, never let it be full. What a subhanallah, what a huge, that is a huge merit. And by the way, we may laugh, they're now using it, now it's being used as a proof of a good merit. Oh Allah, do not let his stomach be full. Truly the man, when he died, was a little bit overweight. Nasa'i looked at them, he said, that's all I have. You know what they did? Started to attack him, started to hit him. They started to attack the man. The man died of torture wounds. Why? Simply, and if you go and read Dhahabi and others what they say in Nasa'i, there's a little bit of tashayyu' in him, as if it's a negative. Baba Nasa'i is saying, hold on, are you now, have we really reached a stage, Muawiyah and Ali are equal? Wallah haram. Yani Ali ibn Abi Talib, what he gave at Badr and Uhud and Khandaq and Khaybar and all his merits, the man who slept on the bed of Rasulullah that night on Hijrah, the man married to the daughter of the Prophet, the man on Mubahala, the man, and now his son and him are equal? And Nasa'i, the only reason his book is not Bukhari and Muslim is because of his leaning to Ali. Bukhari, how many merits of Ali ibn Abi Talib he has? 6. 3 of them are merits, the other 3 he indirectly attacks. And Nasa'i said, forget merits in Sunan, forget that. I'll write a whole book about his merits. A whole book. That's why in life there may be people who are not Shia. But just because they're not Shia doesn't mean they don't love Amir al-Mu'mineen. There are many who are not Shia. They love Ali ibn Abi Talib with a passion. They understand when they read history, they understand that a disservice has been done. And you know what's the biggest disservice? That Ali ibn Abi Talib could be cursed every week in the Jum'ah khutbah. The biggest insult in the history of this religion is Amir al-Mu'mineen. Week in, week out, on the Friday khutbah is being cursed by who? Marwan ibn al-Hakam. Yeah, Marwan ibn al-Hakam, this person who was banished by the Prophet, becomes governor of which city? Which city do you think he became governor of? He's banished by the very man who's buried in that city. Medina. They tell me, Karbala, how did it happen? I say, if Marwan's become governor of Medina, you think Karbala's far-fetched? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa who had banished Marwan, Marwan became governor where? Of Medina. Ahmad bin Hanbal has a text. Many don't refer to it. People refer to his Musnad, or some people mention the Fada'il al-Sahaba. There's a text called Al-Ilal. It's a Rijali work. Within there, Ahmad bin Hanbal discusses Marwan ibn al-Hakam, governor of Medina, for 6 years in a row, every Friday. How many Fridays would that be, mathematicians? 6 years in a row. That would be close to what? 300? Well, I don't know. 300 Fridays? How many Fridays is that? 6 years. Something like this. Let's just say. How many Fridays? 300 and? May Allah bless your mathematics. 312 Fridays in a row. Now on a Friday, Jum'ah khutbah, what do we want to hear? Well, salah. We want to hear about, for example, akhlaq. We want to hear maybe a bit about how we can spiritually improve ourselves. That's why we come to Salat al-Jum'ah. Marwan ibn al-Hakam, 6 years in a row in Medina, near the grave of the man who brought the religion, every week cursing Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ahmad bin Hanbal, one may ask, why is he narrating this? Isn't he putting down someone like Marwan? Ahmad bin Hanbal wrote a whole book about the Fada'il of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Ahmad bin Hanbal wanted to make clear that, listen, this has become a joke now. You comparing Muawiyah and Ali. You're putting Yazid and Hussein and all of these together. This is nonsense now. Ahmad bin Hanbal narrates that Marwan ibn al-Hakam for 6 years in a row, and they tell us, you Shia, you all curse the Sahaba. Baba, who begun this cursing? Who begun it? Who begun this method that was there of the cursing? The method was begun by the Umayyads when they assumed the pulpit. 6 years, he ended his 6-year term. 2 years, Sa'id ibn al-As took over from him. No more cursing. Couple years later, Sa'id was removed. They put Marwan bin Hakam again. The cursing continued. You begin a khutbah, and in that khutbah you begin by cursing Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is simple. You know what the problem is with Salat al-Jum'ah? What's the issue? There may be a 50-year-old sitting in the Friday prayer. There's also a 14-year-old maybe sitting there. You are gassing up that 14-year-old to hate this man. One day with a stone, that 14-year-old will pelt this man's granddaughter. Mosques are about who's reciting. If I have someone reciting a Jum'ah khutbah and he's building a community, then the future of the ethics of that community will be there. But mosques are also about if someone destroys. Marwan ibn al-Hakam, Ibn Asakir narrates, Marwan says, we used Ali ibn Abi Talib as a scapegoat for all the trouble that happened. Subhanallah, how satanic can you be? We used Imam Ali as a scapegoat. Meaning, Uthman being killed, trouble between the Muslims. We used Ali ibn Abi Talib. We have already a hatred for him. We used him as the scapegoat. Blatantly, this is not Shia literature. Ibn Asakir says that Marwan said we used Ali ibn Abi Talib as what? As a scapegoat. Marwan ibn al-Hakam. Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, the moment he comes into power, the moment he comes in, what's the first thing he does? Ibn Abi al-Hadid, Sharh of Nahj al-Balagha. He says the moment he said, may Allah curse Abu Turab. Straight away. You're telling me, why do I call Muawiyah munafiq? You tell me you love the 4 rightly guided khulafa. So if you do, and someone curses, wallah, if he had cursed the second Khalifa, that person, they would have killed his reputation. If it was the second Khalifa, they would have killed his reputation. But Ali ibn Abi Talib, no. Ali ibn Abi Talib, if you curse him, you're both still Muslims. You're both still Muslims. Ibn Taymiyyah even says that, you know, the cursing of Ali and these things, this is ijtihad. And people get these things wrong. Ana, who's never met Imam Ali, all I've done is read about him. I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides me. I won't even come near cursing a person who's a neighbor of ours who might have done something wrong to me. Let alone a person with all those merits. Muawiyah comes into power. First sermon, what does he do? Straight away, may God curse Abu Turab. Young girls and boys are growing up in Sham. The fire